getting into this thing called cycles because we're not learning from our past mistakes or learning from our past. We're trying to repeat the past. And so many of you, the reason why you don't want to walk into this faith summer is because you like to be on that repeat cycle because it makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you da 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 da. And so getting out of that cycle, jumping out of that cycle requires something different. And many of us, we're scared of different because different means we got to grow. Different means that we might have to change our methodology. Different means that we might have to change our way of thinking. We might have to change our method, change our strategy. And many of us, we are creatures of habit. So if it disturbs your habit, if it destroys or disturbs your way you've been doing it for 5 years, 5 months, 10 years, sometimes a week, if it messes up that, then your brain, sometimes our brain wires up, oh, alert, no. So, and because and here it is, and then when we do what's up, family? It is your boy, it is your preacher. It is maybe your teacher. Jaheem President with another episode here of Legacy Builders Podcast. Wanna no. It's so great to be back with y'all. It's been some time. Hope everyone is having a great year so far. And if you're not, this is the month where you pivot. This is the month where you decide that you want to do something different. And I'm excited to be here, back on track, back recalibrated, back ready to do my passion, and that is to talk to y'all, encourage y'all. Faith, life, legacy, or life, faith, legacy. You'll see it in the promo. But before we start, I want to shout out this Black business, Next Era. It's one of my school sons, who I love dearly. He's starting his own business, and of course, I want to support a young man, to support a young African American man wanting to do something good, So y'all, I'm going to drop this in the comments. Next Era. He got hoodies, he got sweatpants, he got shirts. I got a hoodie. I'm gonna bring back my hoodies. Y'all know, I know y'all used to see me seeing a hoodie. I'll bring my hoodies back in the winter. Like my mom would say, Melo, you making me look hot watching you. But we are back here with another episode of Legacy Builders, and I want to tag this episode, and I'm going to tag this Summer of Faith. Because summer has a way of slowing down things. The school year has ended. Routines are shifting. And many of us are starting to think, what's next? Okay, what are we going to do this summer? But what if it wasn't just another summer? What if it was a summer of faith? What if it was a summer of movement? What if it was a summer of actually being productive, actually doing stuff, actually knocking down those goals, and a season where you stop playing it safe. You stop playing it safe. You stop overthinking every move and started trusting enough to take the next step. How many of us, and I have to ask you this, because what are you believing for this summer? What are you working towards this summer? What are the goals you have for? And I hear some of y'all, and I'm gonna talk about that later. But what are you believing for? You gotta ask yourself that question. What is the goal that you're trying to get? Because I have goals and I have something that I'm believing for. So this summer for me really has been like recalibrating. As many of you don't know, I am no longer teaching per se as of right now, but and so I wanted to like slow myself down. So the first 3 weeks, I just had to really just like catch myself up, because as being a teacher, that's exhausting. You're giving a lot. You're giving to the kids, you're giving to your coworkers, you're giving to your craft. Teaching is a craft. And so for these first 3 weeks, I was like, I had to tell myself, Jaheem, it's okay. And so now what I'm saying is, okay, now that I have this downtime, now that I'm not doing anything as of right now, what am I believing for? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to have tangible in my hand, or moving towards to where it becomes tangible. And so not only what have you delayed because you're waiting for everything to line up perfectly, what are you putting on the back burner? What are you putting at the back burner? And can I tell you this? This podcast, for years, and I know y'all been on this journey because Jaheim, you go so good and then you stop. Because sometimes in this podcast journey or in this content creator world, you're waiting on everything to line up perfectly. You're waiting on the perfect body, you're waiting on the perfect house to do all these different things. You're waiting on the right equipment, you're waiting on the lights, the cameras, maybe if I build up enough followers, then once I start it'll be easy. And so you have to ask yourself, are you living from faith or are you living from fear? Because two of those things are such a powerful thing, faith and fear. And I remember last summer I did a series, or I did an episode, faith versus feelings. But now I had to realize sometimes it's faith versus fear, because we can line up in our heads, we can line up in our minds everything that goes wrong. For the overthinkers that I'm talking to, you line up. For some reason, I always tend towards what goes wrong. Da, 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 da. Like when I'm in a plane, kid you not, everybody says the plane is the safest way to travel. And here's the thing, I love airports. I love that feeling. But like as we're lifting off, I'm thinking, oh my God, what if this plane crashed? Who I gotta run to? How do I bust this window off? When you have to have the faith to know that whoever built this machine, the pilots know what they're talking about. The people, you know what I mean? And so that's what it is. When you're living that faith versus fear, where you're living at, you're so consumed. People who tend to live towards fear, they always line up what could go wrong. I don't have this. You hear people like say that, I don't have this. What could go wrong? I don't know. But people who live in that faith world, people who have, that faith, they'll be like, okay, boom. And they have a idea to pivot. So they pivot much faster. And so you have to ask yourself, where are you living? Are you living in fear? Or are you living in faith? And then what would change if you truly believe your best days are still ahead? What would change in your life, your circumstances, your surrounding, if you really started to go into this mindset of, well, really, what if the best days of my life are still ahead of me? Let me say that again. What would change in your life if you started to be like, this is not the best that life has to offer. It can get better from here. I can be in a better relationship. Maybe I can get a better job. Maybe I can get a better house. And so you have to, it's really about that mindset shift. And here it is not easy. It is sometimes a daily, sometimes it's hourly, sometimes it's minutely. You have to fight those dots. And so, and so what I'm telling you is, if you want to live in that summer of faith, if you want to live in that summer of possibilities of accomplishing goal, of doing stuff, of moving the needle towards success, it's going to require some movement. You don't have to know everything to do something. Let me say that again. You don't have to know everything, y'all. You watching me, you that are listening to this podcast, you don't have to know everything to do something. And so faith and really going after your goals is never passive. It always requires some type of action. You getting up every day, doing your routine, doing something instead of lying in the bed, strolling on TikTok, complaining, wondering, wishing that you had somebody else's life. That's what it is. That's living in that fear part. But faith is always going to require some type of action. Some type of action is going to work every day. Some type of action is saying those positive things over your life, saying that today is going to be a good day. Today is gonna be a good day, you know. And so sometimes we hide behind preparation because we are afraid of failure. So some of us will prepare so much that we will have everything lined up. We'll have the business plan lined up. We'll have the money saved up. We'll have the this da 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 this da da da. But we never move because we're hiding behind that feel of preparation. So we're saying, no, I'm not prepared enough. No, there's still a little bit more to do. There's still a bit more to do. And you know people like that who are so scared to really take the risk. And this always comes up. That word always comes up in these podcasts. Are scared to take the risk because they're trying to prepare their way to their success. And so much so that they never move at all. So you look at those people, and we know, and you may very well be one of those people. I know sometimes I am, where I'm just like, I have, y'all, when I was first starting on this podcast, I looked up and researched everything, and I had all the lights and all the cameras and all of that stuff. And then I had the money. God bless you. I had the money, but then I'd be like, that's a lot of money. And I had people like tell me, Jaheem, that's a lot of money. Why are you buying that camera? Why are you buying this and that? And so growth begins, I think true growth begins when you decide to move. Your muscles, for those who are on the weight loss journey, your muscle begins to move and your muscle begins to grow and expand, and you begin to reach new heights when you finally become to move. And so here it is. There's no such thing as the perfect timing. I hate when people say that. And I hate when I say that. I'm going to start here. I'm going to start when I get this. No, there's no such idea of this perfect timing, of this idea of perfect time. There's no perfect timing. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be a hurdle. There's always going to be a hindrance, if you will, that's going to come from this. And so I want to ask you, what is one thing, and I want you to think about this, I want you to write this down, and if you ever watch it on YouTube, put it in the comments. What is one thing that you have been putting off? What's that one dream, that one goal in life that you have been putting off because you're waiting on this perfect moment? And then here it is. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the right job? Are you waiting for waiting for right companionship or all this other stuff? What are you waiting for? And if failure wasn't an option, would you start today? So if you got that idea of failing out of your mind, would you even start today? If we took failing out the table, so whatever you start is going to work, would you even start? Because some of us use that excuse of failing, when some of us are not scared of failing. Some of us are just scared of starting. And so I want to know, what risks are you willing to take this summer? What risks are you willing to develop, and what risks are you willing to really go through so that you know and that you become? And so once you realize that faith requires movement, once you know that, it's like that, you have to stop letting fear make your decisions. You really do. Because fear talks loudly, but it doesn't deserve the final say. You can be afraid to do it. I'm afraid every time I go on this podcast, every time I open up this laptop, or every time I set it up, because I'm just that fear of, am I wasting my time? The fear of, is anybody listening? And the fear of, am I wasting my time? Because sometimes we all have that fear. We don't want our time wasted. I told my students, at the end of the year, I was like, we was doing something, a lesson. I was like, my time is precious. My time is precious. I never want to feel like I'm wasting my time. And so fear will sometimes pull on the things that you don't want to lose. So you scared to move to this state because you're afraid of losing that relationship. You're scared to move to this part because you're afraid of of moving away, or you afraid of starting over. Fear doesn't deserve the final say. Fear does not deserve the final say to say that if you're going to do nothing or not. Because what is fear? What fear is currently holding you back? Is it fear of rejection? Is it fear of failure? Is it the fear of starting all over again? Is the fear of missing out because you're the only one that's doing it? Like my student, I'm proud of him. Starting a business, that takes money, that takes time, that takes energy, and he's doing it at a young age to where nobody's really trying to start a business in this, you know what I mean, in that age group. But it takes the idea to know that whatever I touch is going to be successful in some type of way. You got to have that type of mindset that, when whatever you touch, it may not have mega success, it may not have world round success, but it's going to be successful in some type of way. You got to really tell yourself that. And so, what lessons have you learned from your past failures? What lesson? Every time I watch these podcasts, I watch my first podcast to my latest episode, and I watch it not of, oh, dang, Jaheim, you failed this. No, what is it? What is these are going to teach me? What is these episodes? What edits I need to make? What marketing tools I need to use? And so you have to start looking at your life, and you have to start saying, what is this season of my life trying to teach me? What did that past season of my life teach me? Where did I need to pivot? And you have to learn the balance of learning and not lingering. Because many of us like to linger in our past. We like to linger in our memories, linger in what we thought was great, linger in what we thought was extraordinary. When you can adore the past, but you got to learn from it so that you don't repeat it. Because many of us, we're out here repeating stuff, repeating the same mistakes, repeating the same things. And then that's how we become comfortable and we become stuck. How many of you are comfortable and stuck? I'll wait. How many of us are comfortable and stuck? Stagnant. I never want to be stagnant in my life. I really don't. I want to be consistent. Here it is. I don't confuse the two. I want to be consistent. I never want to be stagnant. Because consistent means you're growing, you're continuing routines, but there's ability to grow and to pivot. Stagnation means, no, I don't want nothing different. I don't want nothing different. I'm going to do the same thing every single time. And then you have to, once you do all that stuff, once you battle fear and battle where it's taking you, you got to make peace with your pace. Y'all, slow growth is growth. Growth of any kind is growth. And that's the thing I struggle with a lot in these last 5 minutes of the podcast. We'll talk about that. But you have to make peace with your pace, because here it is. Comparison becomes and creates unnecessary pressure. Just because they're growing fast, I applaud people who excel fast. I do. And I learn from, here's it is. I don't make that comparison. I start learning. I'm like, okay, what are they doing? What strategies? I even reach out to people. What strategies are they doing? Because everyone's journeys look different. Everyone's journey. Your journey is going to look different from mine. My journey is going to look different from yours. And because there's sometimes progress is simply becoming healthier, wiser, and more disciplined. And then once you achieve those, then you may be able to excel rapid. I don't want to succeed in life and not be disciplined. I don't want to succeed in life and not be healthy. I don't want to succeed in life and not grow wiser and be more disciplined, because rest can also be productive too. Because many of us, we so out here chasing a bag. Many of us don't. Our mental health is not good. Many of us, we're so busy chasing the bag that our our physical health is not good. Many of us are chasing the bag that we are soliciting advice from people who are not well, who are not healthy. No, go get physically healthy, go to the gym, work out, do something, move, walk, eat healthy, put down the bag of chips, put down and drink some water and clear your mind. Read some books. Look, I'm reading books more. Like I used to love books. I used to read all the time, but I became so busy trying to do this, trying to be on social media, do that I had to say, "Whoa!" That was one of the things I did in my first 3 weeks of summer. I was like, "Man, pick up a book and read." And I've been reading more, and I've been feeling more centered. And so here it is. And then you got to celebrate whatever wins that comes your way. Many of us, we kind of downplay our wins because it doesn't look like everybody else's wins. Bump that. A win is a win. If I got up today and I went to the gym and I walked, that's a win. If I did this to read my book, that's a win in my mind. And so you have to distinguish, and you have to show, and you have to decide what are the wins that you need. The wins that it may not look like a win to anybody else, but it's a win. Look, some days it would be at work. If I didn't lose my mind by third period, it was a win. If I did, you know what I mean? If I got through that lesson, it was a win. If I if half of my class passed, if 10 people passed and got more, okay, it was a win. Because, you know what I mean? So you have to define what your wins are. And then you have to create healthy habits. This summer of faith, this summer of becoming, this summer of growth is really about creating habits. I made it a post the other day about your habits, your future. If you want to become a successful future, it's going to depend on your habits. It's going to depend on the things that you do constantly. And so the person you becoming matters more than the image you're projecting. Don't right now in the summer, I don't care about no image. Because people can fake the funk with the image and be. So you don't worry about your image. The season, this summer, let this be a summer of a season of development. Or are you going to let this summer be a summer of distractions? So what? You ain't going on a vacation right now. It's going to come. So what? You not have money to splurge. It's going to come. Develop yourself. Build yourself so when you get to those moments in life, when you are getting those offers, for people who are getting offers, may it be job offers, may it be college football offers, may it be basketball, baseball, whatever offers, job, new opportunity. Whenever you get those, you can go on those things knowing that you can handle that new level of success. Because I don't want to be to where this podcast is growing and I can't handle that level of success. So you have to ask your questions. Are your habits helping you? Or are your habits now hurting you? And if you ask, yes, your habits are helping you, now how do you make them better? If you ask yourself, are my habits hurting me? And you say, yeah, now how do I pivot and create better habits? And here it is. Nothing happens overnight. Because discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. Discipline today creates your freedom tomorrow. And I ain't talking about tomorrow like, oh, I got one good day of discipline. Now I should have a better tomorrow. No, it's so you really got to ask yourself. And so I want to close out with this because, I ain't trying to be long, but what do I want to accomplish before the summer is over? What do you want to accomplish? Ask yourself these things. What do I want to accomplish before the summer is over? Who do I want to become? What am I willing to change? What am I willing to let go of? And what am I willing to believe is possible? Let me say that again. What do I want to accomplish before the summer is over? Who do you want to become? What are you willing to change? What are you willing to let go of? And what are you willing to believe is possible? It starts with you. It really does. It really does. And so that's why I do this, because you gotta, that self-talk that you have, it starts with you. It really does. So final thought, y'all, and we'll be back here next Monday. Every Monday, for the rest of the year. I promise y'all, I'm gonna do that for the rest of the year. We rolling. For the next rest of the year, we'll be back every Monday at 6:00. But don't spend this summer waiting for life to happen. Use this season to become the person your future is depending on. Let me say that again. Don't spend this summer waiting for life to happen to you. Use this season to become the person your future is depending on. Like, that's all I have for your family. Look, make sure. God, it felt good to be back. I'm just like, y'all, this heals me sometimes, y'all. Being up here helping people. But make sure you tap into Legacy Builder Podcast on Facebook. Not Facebook. On TikTok, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Anywhere you have a podcast, we'll be on there. And so this is Legacy Builders, and this is your summer of faith. And I want you to know, take the trip, start the project, heal, grow, dream again. Let me say it again. Heal, grow, dream again. Trust the process, and remember, we're not just building success. We're building a legacy together. Here it is. Let me say this again. We're not just building success here. We are building a legacy. So make sure you tap into Next Era. He got hoodies. He got all the stuff. I'm going to post it today. But let's build together and let's grow, because we got places to be. We got legacy to go. I love y'all, family. See y'all next Monday, always at 6:00.